You don't get to be first this time.
I know. Push down the list today. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of August 11, 2015.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rear?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
That wasn't that one, right?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Abstain. You were not here yet.
Okay.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Next set as well.
Okay.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of August 18, 2015.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rear?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
Abstain.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Okay.
Morning, Jess.
Good morning. So what we have is a contract today. We were looking to do a little bit of renovation on our first floor, and that's it's actually almost like our second floor. So it's our administrative wing. What we have is we do not have an area where our receptionist is enclosed. So what we have is a lot of privacy issues. When she's on the phone, we can hear everything. She talks with seniors regarding their issues and financial problems. So what we're looking to do is do a renovation to enclose our reception area, to also add a hallway to our administrative wing so that we can have a little bit better controlled access as well, because that seems to be an issue that we're having lately. So we did get with 3 different companies, and we asked for their quotes, and we're going with the best and lowest quote with less hours.
This is what you talked about before. When you get off the elevator, you come in on the ground level, you get on the elevator, you go up to the, opens up, you step right out into that lobby.
Correct.
And you just
walk wherever you want. Right. So
I don't, but it's possible.
So what we're looking to do is we'll add a little seating area directly off the elevator,
okay.
Enclose our receptionist, and then have a door to enter our administrative wing.
The Department on Aging is requesting the Board approve and execute the service contract agreement with Bowers Home Maintenance to perform renovation work at the Department on Aging during the year 2015 in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rear?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
The next is our lease at our West Geauga Senior Center is actually up at the end of January. Because of the cost that we pay, the amount we pay, it's over $50,000 for a 2-year contract. We need to go out for a request for proposal for West Geauga Senior Center. So we want to start that process now. We don't want to get it down to the wire. So I put together a nice request for proposal with all of the amenities that we're looking for. So we'd like to move forward with that process.
The Department on Aging is requesting the Board grant permission to advertise a request for proposals to lease space for use as the West Geauga Senior Center to be held on Wednesday, October 7th, 2015 at 2 o'clock p.m. Notice of this request for proposals will be advertised on August 27th, 2015, September 3rd, 2015, and on the county website.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rear?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
And lastly, I had to place an employee on administrative leave yesterday until further notice.
The Department on Aging is requesting the Board approve the placement of Kathy Hart's Assistant Site Coordinator on paid administrative leave effective August 24th, 2015 until further notice.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rear?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Hey, Jessica, real quick,
Yeah,
one
sure.
thing I was going to tell you,
Oh, sure.
I actually forgot to say something to you earlier. I was really impressed. The Department of Aging stepped up with a friend of mine who had a bad stroke, put a ramp in, and I was, to be quite honest, didn't realize that they did that much, so, I mean, kudos to, what you guys do, and I was actually going to ask Dave if maybe like one of the night meetings we could have, just do like a 15, 20-minute presentation of some of those services, because I think sometimes people may not, I didn't
Until
really,
you need it,
to be
you
quite
don't
honest
know.
with you, I didn't, and it was recommended by the Veterans
Yeah.
Service Commission to call you guys, but if we could do something like just a
Informational.
20-minute
That'd be great.
thing and try to advertise it, and then people could, hear some of that. It's pretty nice.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of programs, and I think a lot of people are very focused on just the different senior centers that we have that have
Yeah.
recreation, but that's just one of the small programs that we have. So we'd love to talk about our other programs and how they can be accessed. But
Well, and what was interesting is his mother is 82 years old, and she lives in a quote-unquote retirement village in Florida, and said we have nowhere near the services of what we got and the assistance that we got here in Geauga. So, should be proud about that, and I was too, just to hear that.
if you saw the ramp, I bet it's really solid.
Oh, yeah.
The carpenters.
Yeah, I was.
you
I
could
mean-
probably drive a truck over it.
Yeah, yeah, I was impressed. It was really neat. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yep, kudos. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good trip.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
First item on the list is an increase to our service contract with Bergman Associates. We had some additional work that the original is one of our service contracts was open for $5,000 just to get it opened and have them on under contract. But we had some additional work we needed to do with some touch screens and some cables for our variable frequency drives at our Parkman wastewater treatment plant and vacuum station. So this is an increase in that contract, increasing it by $4,250. We'll still have, after that's paid, we'll still have $3,000 left in that service contract.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute the service contract maintenance form number 1, increasing the contract with Bergman Associates Incorporated to perform additional telemetry control work and the replacement of touchscreens and cables for VFD at the Parkman wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $4,250.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Beer?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickwell?
The next two items are dealing with our Contract B and Contract A with our Thompson project. The first item is a change order for the Contract B. It's actually adjusting the quantities for the sewer line. There was a vacuum line. There was some reductions. The overall is an increase, though, because we did do some additional boring of the sewer line that we weren't originally intending on doing to save some trees that were just outside the right-of-way. That had we put it in with a trench system, we'd be back dealing with the property owners within a year because we would have completely killed the trees. And then one of the other areas was to get the bore under the monument that Thompson has on in front of their town hall that the trustees asked us to not. Our original intent was to move it and then put it back in place. The trustees asked us not to move it, so we bored underneath that to get out of that. So that increase is mostly for the additional boring, because the boring was, I forget exactly what the quantity was, but obviously boring a sewer line is a lot more expensive than open cutting and putting it in. The second item there, number 7, is for Contract A, some additional work at the vacuum station. After the original design was done, our guys asked us to have a I-beam put in order to be able to pull the pumps out of the well and bring them all the way to the door. To do that, we got that under the original contract. What we didn't do at that point was turn the vacuum equipment that actually sits up on top 90 degrees, so we had to make that adjustment to turn that 90 degrees. So when they did lift that stuff up out of the big hole in the ground, they didn't have to work it around the vacuum equipment that was on the top. And then also adding the SCADA system, which is matching the rest of our mission SCADA systems on the rest of our plants.
I went there yesterday. I drove around the area just to see. Mm-hmm. You went east out to Ledges Park?
Yes.
To the park, right?
Yes.
North up to the county or township garage?
Township garage.
West, how far west did you go beyond the sewer plant?
We're to the, it's about, I want to say an additional 500, 600 feet west of where the sewer plant is.
For
yeah,
someone across the street?
Correct.
And south you went down
South we go
450 or 500 feet south of the square,
Correct.
but not out to that Sidley
Correct.
facility or the ball.
Yes.
I hadn't been there in a while to look at it, a few months. It appeared that most of the surface is restored if it was disrupted.
They've restored the grass areas. They have not done the repaving of the driveways or the regraveling of the driveways for permanent final. They're still working on. There's a couple of leaks that they found when they did the overall testing at the end that they're still trying to get those repaired. So that's why they haven't done any of that.
On the north end of the square, when you were doing the job, or they were doing the job, there was a lot of equipment parked on the north end, and there's a mound of earth that has a stone wall on the south side of that mound.
Yeah, they have not finished that repair yet.
Okay, but was that mound there to begin with?
Yes,
I mean,
there was a mound there with the stone wall,
Mhm.
and it was also landscaped with plants and bushes and such. The township has asked us not to replace the plants and bushes, but to just keep the mound, but just put grass in on that mound, because they had it put in. What my understanding from the trustees, they had that mound put in, a few years back, and it was great. Looked great for the first couple of years, but it was never properly maintained. So it became more of a maintenance issue for them to properly maintain that mound with all the plantings. If we grassed it, they can still
run the
mower over it without any problem, but they didn't have to go in there and keep weeding it and keep mulching it every year and such. So.
And the monuments that were in question, those are down on like the southwest side of the square, down near the town hall, and
they're just to the south of the town hall's parking lot there.
Okay. And the site around the facility itself, because you're not done out there, that's pretty rough yet. That will be
right. They're still working on finalizing on that also. Until they get all of the construction work done, they didn't want to, they were maintaining it as much as they could, but they didn't want to do too much and then have to dig up something they did because they had to go back and redo some more.
Well, it's still under construction, so it looks like it. But the rest of the town is starting to normalize. Is that fair?
Yes. There's still some areas where they need to go back and patch up. Well, even in the yards, when you go out there, you've had some settling and things like that. So there's still some areas where they need to go out and regrade and reseed to get them level, as well as also going out and raking up some of the areas where they did put it in, because the rocks,
the dirt settles and the
worked
rock
their way up to the top.
Right.
So that's part of their.
That's still on the to-do list.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute change order number 1, increasing the contract fee with Environmental Construction Incorporated for the Thompson Township Sewer Project for sewer quantity adjustments in the amount of $38,683. The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute change order number 2, increasing contract A with Environmental Construction Incorporated for the Thompson Township Sewer Project for vacuum station changes and emission data system installation in the amount of $13,986.94.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Clayton?
Our next item on the list here is for the service contract with Hazen Contracting to do some asphalt repair on some driveways that were torn up a little bit when we went out to do some work for the property owners. The one was on Royal Oak. They had to dig up a clean out and actually pulled out about 6 linear feet. It was completely blocked, but it was about 6 feet of tree roots that had gotten into their service line within the right of way. Anything that's outside the right of way is the property owner's responsibility. When it's inside the right of way, it's still technically the property owner's responsibility, but we take care of it because we don't want private individuals working and digging up the right of way. So this was some work that when we were doing some of those repairs for these 2 properties, one on Royal Oak and one on Fox Hill. There was some damage to the driveways because of the proximity, so we're repairing the driveways.
Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute the service contract agreement with Housing Contracting Incorporated to perform paving services for a 6-month period in amount not to exceed $1,975.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
And our final item on here is to go back out and rebid for the relocation of our sanitary sewer on Oxmoor Way in Bainbridge. That's the sewer line that's in the hillside that is sliding away from years ago when that development was put in. We already repaired that line about 5 years ago, and we're starting to have issues with it again. So the plan is to flip it, take it from the side of the road that's on the hillside, and put the sewer line on the other side, so it's not in the subsidence area of the road. We had bid that out before. We only had one bid that came in, and it was over the 10% over the original engineer's estimates. We tried to see if we could do it a different way, but we wound up having to go back out to bid. So we're going to go back out to bid and get this, hopefully get this done soon. So.
Now, when they do that, could you go back to them and say if you could do it at this, you can do it, or no?
No, you have to go. You have to go back out and rebid the whole.
I see.
We basically what we do is we increase the engineer's estimates. Now we have actual numbers.
I see.
The big issue with that is dealing with the hillside, and there's also on the side we're moving it to. There's a retaining wall that we got to hold up and protect. So.
I see.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board re-advertise for bids for the Hawksmoor Way sanitary sewer realignment to be held on Wednesday, September 16, 2015 at 2:30 p.m. Notice of this bid opening will be advertised on August 28, 2015, September 4th, 2015, and on the county website.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Jerry. Heidi.
Financials today include appropriation transfers from the contingency account for legal fees and additional appropriations for the public defender's office, an appropriation transfer and supplemental appropriation for the juvenile court for salary and benefit expenses, contract for Precise Boring of Ohio LLC for the Troy Oaks Force Main Project for the Department of Water Resources in the amount of $695,213. Payment to Business Smarts for the replacement of 2 document imaging servers for the Department of Job and Family Services in the amount of $25,024.28. And a payment to Southeastern Equipment for the state term purchase of a 2015 Case 521 FXT wheel loader for the Department of Water Resources in the amount of $112,508.55.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
I will ask that you record my vote as no on the first item on there, which is 2015. Looks like 4 zeros, 2629. I'm voting no on that line item. And besides that, then yes.
Can we lay in a veto?
We have in the past.
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
You're going to put that on the thing.
Yeah,
I'll just
and
go
it'll
ahead and
save it in the
sign that, and it's in the minutes from there. Okay. I didn't want to, mark up your journal.
Did you get an explanation from my
Neatness count.
Hello, how are you? Last time I was here, you guys asked for some business cards, and I didn't have any.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought we were Department 8 and the way you're throwing them out there.
Good. We are here for the Smart Grant 2016-2017 renewal. Last time you saw me, I was here for the increase from the 2015 grant, so it's the same guidelines. We get incentives for placing someone on supervision, for terminating someone from supervision without a present commitment. So we given to us incentive payments.
So explain to me, without actually looking at this program yesterday online,
Okay.
explain this program to me a little bit. Why there's a grant and why it's not handled by the
Well, it was,
budget.
sure. It was a new, state law came up with a smart grant for various counties. There's multiple options you could take. One was the model number 1, which we took, which was incentives for placements and termination. Other ones had like a treatment model was one. I know Asheville County has a smart grant treatment model, but this is really to incentivize us to come up with alternatives to prison. For instance, we have GPS units now for the county owns, the probation department owns, rather than having an offender pay such and such money to, installment fee and $12 a day, and we can provide that service at no cost. We're looking to expand some treatment options for our indigent people. Can't necessarily afford or have insurance to cover assessments or inpatient treatments or things like that.
So this really takes care of non-prison oriented alternatives.
Yes.
Interesting. How's it working?
It's working good. We do have a large sum of money that we are trying to figure out exactly what to use it for, to be honest. But we have multiple options.
Well, that's a nice problem.
It's a nice problem.
So I'd like to hear the audience hear that we've got this large pot of money that we're still trying to figure out how to spend it.
Well,
And so that sounds like kind of a government kind of an operation. What's a I'm kind of curious about recidivism rates and people who are sent home versus sending them to prison. What is their likelihood of continuing criminal behavior?
Okay.
Is the value of going to prison a shock thing that will stop them from doing something bad versus going home, watching TV, eating some popcorn, saying, well, this didn't work out so bad, and then going out and doing some felonious...
Well, when we talk about success rates for Geauga County, for the Common Police Court, which is the felony level court for the county, we had, in our last annual report, it was a 70% success rate. So 70% of the people were terminated without prison or jail at our before the last fiscal year. So we do have success in this county compared to relative other counties. I used to be in Asheville County for 5 years, so much more success in this county than in Asheville County.
Interesting. So, and this costs us nothing. It's just
No,
a grant.
no.
It's $200,000 out of the
Up to $200,000
Ohio taxpayer pocket.
No local match. Unused funds will likely be returned to their line.
Unused funds returned. Okay. Use it or lose it. Is that
Yes.
The Common Police Court Adult Probation is requesting the Board approve and execute the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction Subsidy Grant Agreement for Smart Ohio pilot funding for fiscal year 2016 and fiscal year 2017 for the period ending June 30th, 2017 in an amount up to $200,000 to be paid in 7 installments with no local match.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Reluctantly, I love it when they call these programs smart programs. Thank you for coming over.
Uh-huh.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm here today to bring through the request for release of funds for Chef Electric. It's a revolving loan fund company that we're working with. We've previously brought in front of you the notice of intent and the ER saying that there's no historical impact on the property, and we had to go through the archaeological dig and everything. So this is just housekeeping, asking the state to approve, asking you to approve. When we are ready to move forward with the loan, they will release the funds when we ask for it. That we've gone through all the proper steps to the state.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the Board approve and authorize the President of the Board to execute the State of Ohio Development Services Agency Office of Community Development request for release of funds, RROF, and certification for federally funded state projects in regards to the CDBG program income for the SHUP project.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Just explanation. Both of these items are summer youth kids, and when I originally agreed to hire the first one, Ariel Lehman, they were going to end it at the end of August. Now they found funds through the end of September, so why utilize our funds if I can make it for free? So
Sure.
that's what both of these are.
And you could use the help, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Karen.
Would you like to work third tonight?
Karen,
Yes.
could you speak a little louder if you can?
Sure.
Because
Yeah, we-
our
I have to
high
work at being quiet, you know
our
that,
high
right?
tech sound system is on the fritz. So
All right.
thank you.
And this was a great program. I was over meeting with the kids the other day,
That's awesome.
and great group of kids.
Sure.
There was a lot of employers that had a good
Oh,
experience.
you went to the picnic?
I went to the picnic.
Okay, good.
And
Yeah, I was
talked
up
to
to
them.
go on then.
Mhm.
It's a nice thing, and it's a good way to train kids that have never had jobs. They have no idea how to interview. They have no idea how to do any of that. They have no work behaviors yet. So I think it's wonderful.
I think
As
it
an old
was
job
a great
developer.
program to tell them, you got to show up on time, you got to work hard, you got to do, and I've talked to a number of people who had kids at work, and all the kids did a great job. So it's a really good program.
Yeah, I can't say enough about it. I mean, every time I've been up here this summer, I've talked about it. I think it's great.
Yes.
The county home is requesting the board amend the motion from August 11, 2015, changing the start date to read approved hiring Ariel Lehman to the position of part-time attendant number 1504-1 to be effective October 1st, 2015 at a rate of $9.39 per hour. After the successful completion of a 1,000-hour probationary period, the rate will increase to $9.81 per hour. The county home is requesting the board approve hiring Chelsea Chunzi. How did I do?
I think pretty well.
To the position of part-time attendant number 1504-1 to be effective October 1st, 2015 at a rate of $9.39 per hour. After the successful completion of a 1,000-hour probationary period, the rate will increase to $9.89 per hour.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thanks, Karen. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good morning. Hi. I'm up here for our annual 4D service contracts. One's with the prosecutor's office and one's with the Court of Common Pleas for Magistrate Services. This allows us to use money that we have through our state allocation incentives and administrative fees to pay for services that both the prosecutor's office and the courts provide to us in establishing paternity, establishing support orders, and also enforcing support orders. So the nice thing is this is income coming back to the general fund for their services.
Okay.
Any questions? You want to do this together? The Department of Job and Family Services is requesting the board approve and execute the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services 4D contract between the Geauga County Child Support Enforcement Agency and the Geauga County Common Pleas Court for Magistrate Services for the period July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016 in the amount of $103.87 per hour. The Department of Job and Family Services is requesting the board approve and execute the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services 4D contract with the Geauga County Child Support Enforcement Agency and the Geauga County Prosecutor's Office for legal services for the period July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016 in the amount of $53.48 per hour.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you, Paul.
Bye now.
Who's going to speak to that?
I don't.
Are you speaking to that?
This is for the contract to do with Sachs Consulting. Timothy Dimoff, Sachs Consulting, has sent the board a proposal to do a overview, security overview, looking at the physical security of the annex exterior, primarily the parking lot and the alleyway. So I believe the amount is $2,200, and he's very experienced in this kind of work. I think this office felt that it was necessary to engage an outside professional, really unconnected to any one department or agency, because there's been concerns expressed by a number of agencies, and our fear was that if the commissioners didn't come up with somebody who could service everyone, there might be multiple security audits done at extra cost to the taxpayers, and they might come up with findings that might be incompatible, one consultant versus another consultant. So the board is going to consider the hiring of Sachs Consulting to do the security assessment with the security of all county employees that work at the annex in mind.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the contract agreement with Sachs Consulting and Investigative Services Incorporated to provide a security survey, review, and vulnerability analysis of designated area and buildings during the year 2015 in an amount not to exceed $2,200.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
I don't really know enough about this to be able to take a vote on it, so I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Yeah, this was the proposal that he made was actually went beyond the parking lot for general comment, right?
For general comment, yeah.
So the focus is on the parking lot area due to the concerns that we had down there. And then he's actually, there we go. He's doing a vulnerability assessment of other general areas within the building and so forth from a security standpoint.
Yeah, I would assume he's going to talk to all the stakeholders up there. I certainly think we ought to encourage him to speak to the gentleman that did the assessment for the courts a couple of years ago to make sure that he doesn't overlook anything that specifically was identified at that time and incorporate it into an overall study for everybody up there.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's any secret that the juvenile probate court, and others in the county, primarily us, are at a disagreement over some things. And I would say daily, if not every other day, we receive correspondence from that court telling us what we have to do, suggesting that we better do it quickly. Many of the items are items that physical constraints do not let us do. In order to benefit the court, it jeopardizes someone else in that building. And I would move that this body direct the director and appropriate personnel to look into what is required to move the juvenile probate court from its current location at the courthouse annex to 470 Center Street, Building 8. That would require the relocation of a number of people, but there is absolutely no way that, unless one of us becomes the creator, that we can change the facilities up on the square to accommodate all the suggestions made to the commissioners. It's my understanding that we are required by law to provide the courts with safe, suitable space. And I would propose that we look at Building 8, which is out in the open, has plenty of parking. Parking can be fenced if you want, what have you, and move the court down there, and they have free reign of the building. That's a motion, a long one. I had asked to have one constructed, but time prohibited. So that's my motion. Needs a second or can be ignored.
Well, that particular motion kind of catches me off guard a little bit, so I'm not prepared to second it or to, although I'm open to discussing that option. The courts have certain specific kinds of considerations they need to take into account. There's been a big investment on that current building and so forth to accommodate the courts. So I don't think I'm ready to second that. I'm certainly sensitive to the issues that you raised in terms of some of the challenges that we have with the court facilities or the letters we've been receiving from the court and so forth. But at least from my perspective, that's an intriguing idea, something that certainly warrants a lot more thought and investigation. So
I recognize that and respect that. I also understand that, as it was pointed out to us erroneously recently, about illegal public meetings and all this other, that if we're going to have discussion on this issue, it needs to be done in a public forum. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, I would certainly like to, if we're going to have a rational conversation about this, look into the requirements of the court and make sure that Building 8 would satisfy those requirements. And of course, the judge would have to be taught, and this has to be discussed with the judge and so on and so forth. So,
did you want to bring up the latest correspondence and request for a possible meeting?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you mentioned it, I will talk about it real quick. We had made, there was a letter sent to our office making an allegation that there might be some misbehavior in terms of sunshine law. So we asked for an opinion from our prosecutor regarding that. I have a letter from the prosecutor stipulating the requirements of a public meeting. And all I will say about that, I'm not going to read this entire letter to you, is this, that we as elected officials are permitted to be in the same space at the same time, as long as we don't discuss together certain information. And I can guarantee you that in this case, Commissioner Spitaleri was not present. He was enjoying himself in Alaska or down in Texas, I forget which. One of those two places. So. But Commissioner Rear and I were in the same parking lot, albeit at quite a distance from each other. We were individually having a conversation with a person we were investigating for the contract that we just agreed to today, talking to him about his qualifications, background, ideas, thoughts, and so on and so forth, which we're permitted to do under Ohio law. In no time did we have a conversation about this with each other in the parking lot. And anybody that would say anything to the contrary, I would suggest has an agenda. And if there's any questions to the media here, if you have any questions on this, I've got permission from Mr. Flays, our prosecutor, for you to call him. He was standing there in the parking lot, observed our activity, and certainly could comment on whether there was inappropriate activity going on or not. But so regarding that particular issue, I can't speak to why there was the comments that it was made. I'm disappointed that those comments were directed at this office. We're doing the best that we can to work our way through this situation that was presented to us by the court. We're trying to accommodate the court to the extent we can. The vast majority of the things that were requested in the letter from the court we're accommodating. There is one issue which impacts others in the parking lot, and we have a responsibility to all residents of that building, which is a county building, that we look out for their interests, their security interests, and so on and so forth as well. We can't accommodate one over another, whether, we can't play favorites, even though sometimes maybe we'd like to. It's our obligation not to play favorites. And I know that the court has a special position because of they are the court, and there is a separation of powers situation going on there. But with that said, we're doing the best that we can to accommodate this complex situation. You would hope to think that a parking lot is not going to be a big deal or a complex situation. Unfortunately, when you start talking about people's parking spots, you get into an emotional area with some folks. And so this is what it is. We're trying to work our way through it. We're open to any questions or comments on this, but let me assure you there was no inappropriate activity going on in that parking lot. All three commissioners sitting here, I'm sorry for maybe speaking for Mr. Spitaleri here, are very sensitive to our responsibilities under the Ohio laws, and we do everything that we can to ensure that we're in full compliance at all times. And so we're very sensitive to that. But with that, Auditor Cleo.
Yeah, I'm happy that you approved the security analysis. I am more concerned as a resident, as an employee of the county, and as the county auditor that we do not have any security in any of the offices that I sit in other than the second floor where we have security. Anyone can walk into any of our areas and do harm to not only my staff, but the residents, along with their children, who come to my office quite regularly. And I want to make sure that you commissioners understand that you have a duty not only to protect the county employees, but also to protect the residents who come into our county and come into our offices, because we're at a watershed moment here now, because that building has never been secure other than the second floor. Even at this door, coming into your commissioner's office, isn't very secure. So somebody has to start thinking about security not only for a particular department, but all county offices where we could be vulnerable. Thank you for listening to that.
I appreciate what you said, and in the world that we live in today, there is a term where, first of all, we're not law enforcement, so we can't protect anybody. The best we can do is to enable those folks that can protect people and to ensure that we've got proper, necessary, and reasonable, that's a legal term that's put out to us on a regular basis, necessary and reasonable features in place to ensure that we're secure. Given the nature of Geauga County and the great folks that we have living here, I don't think any of us, and hopefully you don't feel at risk this morning, feel at risk on a general basis. Do bad things happen? Do bad people exist? Absolutely. Do we overreact to that and lock ourselves down in a police state because there are bad people out there? I'm one of those people that would say no. I would rather personally feel a little bit at risk perhaps, rather than feel like I've got to be constantly in a police state situation. And so we are taking a look at, as we've always done, the risk involved. And I'm speaking for myself here to some degree. I can't speak for the other gentleman at this table. But take a look at the actual risk and accommodate that with necessary and reasonable implementations of security measures. the annex building and the whole courthouse area in the downtown Chardon area is a very public area. It is extremely hard to completely secure. And let me make this comment. If somebody wants to hurt you, they will find a way to hurt you. They will come to Bean's Coffee Shop. They will follow you home. They will find you at the grocery store. If somebody has that intent, you cannot protect yourself 100% completely unless you're like the President of the United States and you carry security and a bulletproof car with you every place you go. And so, again, from my perspective, we need to approach this in a reasonable fashion, ensuring reasonable and necessary security. We are taking certain activity, which I don't want to talk about because it might jeopardize the security we are putting into place. But we are taking reasonable steps to improve the security for everybody that works in the downtown Chardon area, and we're looking at other actions and activity. That's the reason we engaged this particular.
None of the elected officials have launched the idea that says we are in an unsafe environment.
Good. Well, and I don't think that was
one
my
in the
take.
letters that we all received.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is. We know that there's other things going on here, but it does. The value in this is that we did have. This does raise the issue. It is worth looking at. We oftentimes become complacent in the world that we live in, and we don't take proper security measures or take a step back and look at our situation. I mean, I know even with my own personal situation, my home. Every so often you kind of revisit what's my security situation. Do I need a home security alarm? Do I need to carry firearms? Do I need to put a fence up? What do you need to do in order to protect yourself? And what is the right balance between personal security and how much you want to spend and so on and so forth. And we are constrained by dollars at the end of the day. But the value in this whole conversation, there is value in this conversation, is bringing it up, taking a look at the situation, which we intend to do. We're going to do the responsible thing. We've engaged a professional, somebody that we know, somebody who has proper credentials and so on and so forth. And we will be taking a look at this situation. Again, I'm speaking from my own personal position. I'm not speaking for the commission in that regard. And so we have been asked. I'm not going to address that yet.
You're not going to address the latest request?
I'm not going to. You're free to bring it up if you
want. Well, I will. Because of the timeline that he imposed, that we have to let someone know by tomorrow noon whether we'll be attending this, whatever it is. I noticed that while the directive from him was, you will appear in my chambers on the second floor, blah, 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 but be cognizant of the public meeting aspect by asking the commissioners to come there. I'm not real sure of the mechanics of that. I'm not real sure how we notice a meeting at someone else's facility that we'll be in attendance to, that someone else will control who attends the meeting and not us. There may be some legal precedent for that, but I really don't have the time. If we want to, at this point in time, schedule an executive session, a meeting, a public meeting, to enter into executive session to discuss matters of security at the time mentioned in that letter by the other person, and we, along with them, but primarily we, set those in attendance. If we were to move and adopt that, I will do it. Other than that, I'm not going to show up because I don't want to read about it in the paper that I was at an illegal meeting after the fact. I'm not going to that meeting on Friday unless that meeting is our meeting held here and we are in control.
I don't know about the control thing. Let me speak.
Well, I mean control to the extent of who's in attendance.
Blake being a bit cryptic, let me clarify this. We were sent a letter by Judge Grindel in which we were asked to be in his court on Friday to discuss security matters. And so that is a complicated thing because the three of us or two of us cannot meet together unless it's in a public session. And so I would be willing to consider sending an invite to the judge. Certainly would like to sit down and have a personal face-to-face conversation with him. I have no issues with that whatsoever. And talking this out, in fact, is probably a very, very healthy thing to do. But we can invite him here, as Blake said, and I'd be willing to entertain that motion, so that we can have a public meeting, then we go into executive session. We are permitted in Ohio Revised Code to go into public session to discuss security matters. This is a security matter, talking about the security of his office and security of the parking lot and so on and so forth. And so I would be willing to entertain that motion if that was what we were jointly interested in doing. I think it would be a very healthy thing to have a conversation with the judge. Whether it's at his place, if we could do it somehow, or ours, I don't really care. But it wouldn't be appropriate to go to his office unless we had a public meeting. And so I would suggest we got great conference rooms, we got good coffee. I'll even buy the donuts, and we'll invite the judge and whoever you'd like to bring, and we can have a conversation with him.
At the time that he specified, so because we already know he's got that time free for this purpose.
I'm fine with that. I don't know how everybody else feels. What does it say? 4 o'clock on?
No, it's noon.
No, that's where we've got to respond.
No, it's
noon.
Okay, noon on Friday.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. But I don't want to play the sunshine law violation game again or any of the other. And I would also say that this is pending the prosecutor's opinion as far as whether or not the motions are set. The procedure is set to where
It's permissible.
Yeah, complies with
So
the
why don't we
establish a special meeting.
I see no harm.
I don't see any either. We have a special meeting. We call that special meeting. We enter into an executive session for matters of security. The population of which meeting is set by two sides of the meeting at such and such a time. It's right here in front of God and everybody, and people can sit in the parking lot and watch when we come in and go out, but they just can't be in the room. And we do it at the time that he suggested because that's the time that he has whoever he wants here has already been cleared.
Well, I mean, it does no harm to make the invitation, so I would make the motion. Let's move to try to establish a public meeting on Friday, do an invitation. I don't know where that's going to go. I mean, I'll say publicly, the relationship between the court and the commissioner's office has been strained. That's not a surprise to anybody. You see it in the press. I would love to improve that. I mean, the intent of meeting with the judge is to try and overcome whatever this silliness is, and I'll put it in that way, between our offices. We all live in the county. We're all serving the citizens of Geauga County, and we ought to be working together, not against each other, in order to be able to do that. And so in the interest of improving our relations, I would love to sit down with the judge and have a conversation with him. We might even think about expanding the involvement, since security is involving other people in that building. So we might talk about that. That brings other political issues. But I move to invite the judge here for a public meeting. We'll go into executive session. Of course, we have to make sure that we're on solid ground relative to being able to do that, and we can get a read on that. So that's the motion.
I will second your motion, and also what you said about, it's not our intention to be adversarial. So I would second your thoughts and your words on that, but also second the motion to schedule a meeting.
This is what I have. Schedule a special meeting on Friday, August 28th, 2015 at 12 o'clock p.m. for the purpose of an executive session to discuss security matters and details.
Let me throw something else out there. Ralph just indicated he's not going to be available on Friday. Well, the judge had made himself available at this time, so we know that that's a good time. But I would like to have Ralph in the room, if possible. Is there any time on Friday or Thursday that you can get together? We could make an invite for a better time. Well, let's just go ahead and go with this time then, and we'll see if the invitation is accepted. So.
I seconded it. So
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier? Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
I move to adjourn. Thank you for coming.
Meeting today.